We're going to go straight to the business. We have a public hearing for the proposed minor general plan amendment, proposed rezoning amendment, and the conceptual plan development plan. And the first item is the staff report. Tyson.
Thank you, Chairman Ross, commissioners. The applicants here on the line with us, I think you can see representatives Carolyn and Lisa, both with attorney representing Paul Vanderveen, who's also on the line. I believe they have their engineer, and city staff present, of course, is Pam, myself, Woody Scouten, and I'll get started here with the staff report. So, you know, I could share my screen. I'm going to go right into, let me do the presentation via PowerPoint first, if that works for you. Just give me 1 second. I just have to take control. Pam, I can share screen, correct?
Yes, right, yes.
Great, okay, hold on 1 second. All right. Let's go on PowerPoint mode. All right, commissioners, here we go. So Rancho La Loma, the Sun Health campus, it's been an active zoning case now for goodness a few years. We brought this project before you last May, on May 12th, as a study session item. We took some good time to work through the application request with the applicant. And just a brief overview of where we're at from today. Where you last saw it, we didn't have a conceptual development plan. So the new item you see on your agenda would be the third item, which is conceptual development plan for approximately 82 acres of the Sun Health campus. And that would be their next phase of active development beyond what's already built and approved. So covering the bases here, as part of the request, they needed to do a bit of a, I'm kind of classifying it as a cleanup effort, if you will, for a minor general plan amendment. Back in 2014, Sun Health had a development intent of commercial along Camelback Road. They expected some viability, if you will, for a strip commercial that would serve both the residents of La Loma as well as the communities surrounding that stretch of Camelback Road, as you can see on your screen. Their intention is to kind of clean that back off the map and reintegrate that acreage into the larger mixed-use public facility agritourism land use designation. And other than that, staff doesn't really have any comment except that we support the minor general plan amendment as it, one, cleans up the land use designation for the overall campus, and two, supports the other two applications on the agenda. This GPA would be necessary for the rezoning effort to proceed. Second, we have the plan development rezoning request. So the idea here is that Sun Health has requested public facility zoning across the entire 322 acres, that and agritourism zoning with a PD overlay. And the acreage breakdown is shown below. This is the same chart that you saw back on May 12th. It is unchanged. And the PD really establishes development standards and permitted uses for the project as illustrated in your staff report, and I'll come back to that shortly. The PD rezoning request will show you from what's existing on the map on the left. You can see it's mostly residential estate with a swath of PF through the middle, which sweeps in the existing medical offices. And then you've got neighborhood commercial in the south, and then another pocket of RE over on the corner of the northwest corner of the Litchfield and Camelback roads. And on the right-hand side, you can see more clearly what the underlying zoning districts would be. Mostly it's public facility and then a strip of agritourism over along Old Litchfield, or New Litchfield Road. The breakdown in terms of units, we presented this prior to you as well. This went to council back in, I think, February, as well to you in May. And it shows you the impact of the residential densities existing, what's allowed with their development rights currently on the property. You would find that they could theoretically plat and develop 770 residential units on the property as currently zoned. What's proposed is certainly a much different community than would otherwise be allowed today. And that would be a significant mix of housing units, everything from single family detached residential, which would appear to be like a regular single family home, all the way through attached living, stacked units, condominiums, independent living, and then assisted living, memory care type units, and skilled nursing. The plan development and the conceptual development plan you have in front of you tonight is primarily for independent living, and they would be attached units. You'll also see that there's an assisted living facility that's in the conceptual development plan, but that would not be subject to density limitations because it's a facility rather than a dwelling unit. You can see here the prospective development phases that are anticipated with the project. It's not clear that they would necessarily go in that order, but they've been identified as phases by Sun Health. Their biggest concern right now is launching the development of their independent living units that would be located to the west and wrap around to the north of the existing La Loma Village. And I'm not sure if you guys can see my mouse when I move it around when I'm viewing the screen, but you can see how the collector kind of goes around here. This collector has kind of changed a little bit of shape as we've firmed up what the development plan looks like, but it's close enough to indicate that this is where they really want to build their independent living units. And so if this case is successful with P&Z and then council coming up here in September, the project could move forward to design review phase for these units, and subsequently they could pull permits and actually build them. So you'll see this big swath of line here. This is a graduated density line for Luke Air Force Base, and Sun Health has committed to maintaining densities of 2 dwelling units per acre or less for this portion of the project that's shown in blue. And then across this line, they've committed to maintaining 4 dwelling units per acre or less in compliance with Goodyear's request for maintaining those density levels based on where it is along the graduated density line. So those units, will be spread across all of this acreage. So even though you'll see multifamily units in this 2 dwelling units or less area, it's because it's blended out over so many acres of what's probably not going to be developed too much in the corner up here in the northwest corner, that they can pull off having stacked residential units in a low density area because it's considered as part of an overall density calculation. One thing we're working on now, and it's come up, I think Commissioner Lawrence, you noted an interest in the right-of-way improvements and street improvements that would occur with this project. In speaking with Sun Health and with Woody, I won't speak for Woody, but he's indicated that the right-of-way improvements that are necessary to serve this project would be addressed in a forthcoming development agreement that goes to the city council. So they'll make sure to address whatever is needed for the project will be likely tied to a traffic impact analysis at various stages of development. And at that time, Goodyear Fire can determine, what access works for them. And the city of Litchfield Park will determine what streets need to be improved to serve the development, and ultimately connect Camelback Road with Litchfield Road through build out of the Community Link Road, which will be the primary spine for all of the development that will occur over the next who knows how many years as this project builds out. The second thing that's happened, I should say the deal points as we've addressed them to Sun Health and for this to move along in terms of the development agreement would be, how do we assess the quality of development? How do we assess the details of development that come forth in different phases as this project progresses? And that is, for example, right now they're working on phase 1 down here and the residential units that are going to go in there. How do we address that at the zoning stage? But we don't know how, they don't really know exactly how they want to build out these future phases. They'd like to get their zoning taken care of on the map. They'd like to get their plan development overlay on, on the map. But how do we guide that development, and how does council get a say in ensuring that it meets the standards that, the council believes should happen with the property, the project layout, what would the subdivisions look like, what would the architecture look like, how would the parks be distributed and connected, and how would it ultimately fulfill the vision that's in the development plan booklet that you have with your packets? Because you can see here, we don't really have too many details, right? So what we've decided so far is that no development shall occur within the project until a conceptual development plan is adopted for these future phases of development. So as a companion to the plan development zoning case, there is an 82-acre conceptual development plan, which I'll get to in a moment, that provides the level of detail that Sun Health believes, and so far the city believes is sufficient to allow development to proceed on the 82 acres within the conceptual development plan. Outside of that 82 acres, for areas of the plan development that do not have a conceptual development plan yet, which is primarily, if you look, all of the space around here, on the outside of the Community Link Road, that would not develop until the project comes back to you as a recommending body to the city council with a more detailed conceptual development plan. Okay, so you're not approving kind of a blanket rezoning effort where they could just proceed at will with preliminary plats and design review board approvals. Rather, they will come back to you with those details that we've sought with this zoning case. So this is the conceptual development plan I keep referring to. Carolyn's office provided this to us today with a bit more information. You can see the number of units in their land use budget are shown above. So with this project, you'd have 56 units proposed within this area that's blue, more or less, and about 183 new units within the area that's green. So these will all be new residential units that will be added on to their existing unit base, 100 and I believe 152 at the Sun Health campus now. So with that said, I think you'll be looking at 239 plus the 152 would be their total unit count at build out of this next phase of the project. And we break down here for our reference the acreages. So of the 155 acres of what they refer to as Homestead, which would be the big blue chunk on the entire west side of this project, they're only developing about 11 acres of that now. And then about 30 acres of the core, which is this portion of the green. And they've got plans in the works for the agritourism component, which is kind of that farm to fork effort with some crop growing and some interactive activities and facilities down here that you can see kind of tentatively mapped out as part of their overall concept, farm to fork, wellness, integrated living for, you know, the whole continuum of care living concept. They've got their permitted uses listed here, just to be specific. There's really no surprises in here. Everything kind of falls within the permitted uses. Everything pretty much falls in continuum of care listed here. You've got apartments and vertically integrated residential uses here, and then a short list of allowed commercial uses that are broadly in support of the overall campus environment. So these uses are primarily to support the residents that will live at Sun Health's campus, but I don't believe would be exclusive to them only. I think you could go have lunch there as they build out their restaurant or their event center, which was approved by the board. Someone could have a private party or other types of activities or meeting space in that facility. So again, broadly supporting the Sun Health campus, but not exclusive to just the Sun Health campus. It would be open to the broader community. As a note, there's going to be several items that are going to be linked and attached to the draft zoning ordinance that goes to the city council. So the development plan booklet that you've had access to for some time now has remained unchanged since September of last year when it was submitted to the city. And as part of that development booklet includes, you know, the maps and illustrations I've shown you that show you where the homestead is, where the core is, the public facility development standards, and the conceptual development plan you've now seen showing how they want to develop these parcels on the interior portion of the core. They've also included development design guidelines. So the street sections that you see here, this is an example of what the community link road would look like over here on the right of my screen. They show a divided median landscape parkway setting. And all of these quality design traits that they've included in the booklet are intended to support the vision of the campus. And also to provide the city council, P&Z, and the public some peace of mind that with the increase in density that they've requested for the project, there comes a level of quality that would not otherwise be required of the project, but that they're using to support the overall request. And that said, based on the quality they've provided and how we're going to organize the draft ordinance to the council, staff has found support for the minor general plan amendment. We support the rezoning request to PF with the plan development overlay, as well as agritourism with the PD overlay. We also support the conceptual development plan, which is right here. So this is actually just me running off of my PowerPoint presentation. I'm not tracing or tracking along with the staff report, which we can get back to later. But I did want to give you this opportunity to introduce the project from the staff perspective. And then after this, Commissioner or Chairman Ross, if you'd like, we can allow the applicant to present their application, and I can kind of toggle back to the staff report for questions on the specifics.
Okay, then let's move forward to the applicant presentation.
Thank you, Chairman Ross and Commissioners. Again, for your records, Carolyn Oberholzer with Bergen Frank Smalley and Oberholzer, 4343 East Camelback. And first, I just want to thank you all. I know this is not your regular meeting night, so I appreciate you gathering to consider this application. I know that you've all spent a lot of time with it over the years, and certainly your staff has too, as evidenced by Jason's very thorough presentation tonight. And I didn't want to revisit the slides that you guys have seen before, although we certainly can go back to them. And I'd like to share with you the updated graphics that we have for the units in the conceptual development plan, so we can give you a feel for, again, what the development standards and the guidelines that we are setting up in this zoning package, what they will yield in reality as we move forward through the DRB process and hopefully construction. So as Jason mentioned in the earlier part of the meeting, Paul Vanderveen from Sun Health is here with us this evening, as well as Lisa Gage from my office, Win Lamb, our project engineer, and Richard Gerke from Gree Pickett, the project designer. And so with that, Lisa, I am not running my own presentation, so I'm going to be asking my Vanna White, Lisa Gage assistant, please, to help me fast forward through the slides. But again, I know you guys are all familiar with this and you've seen this slide before. Just the reminder here is that we're blending the old with the new. A project that develops over multiple decades has the challenge of creating an environment that looks like it was all meant to go together. So what we are working with here is a series of single-story buildings, three-story buildings. The inside of the walls on the screen got a $4 million renovation over the last year. And Sun Health has committed dollars that are sitting waiting to be spent on this next phase of the independent living and the community center and the agritourism. Next slide, Lisa. The medical office building, again, that's the building right on Camelback. It's 100% occupied with doctors and professionals that serve the larger La Loma community. Next. The community center, again, this is the first effort to blend the old with the new, and those plans are approved and waiting for construction, and that is where we're going to next. Next slide. So Lisa, you can go forward since we already went through the general plan and the zoning in detail. We can just go right to the new unit. So the new phase 1 plan. Next slide. Great. So here's the aerial of the inside. So on the right side, you see the existing La Loma campus, and then you see the street that connects on a north-south fashion. If you can see my cursor, or you probably can't because you're on Lisa's screen. Those units are the independent living area that is a mixture of both casitas and what we call the large houses, but are now being branded as the terraces. The next exhibit shows you the aerial view that Jason took you through. And again, what we were just looking at is the area that is that first green part towards the bottom of your screen that wraps around the existing La Loma campus. North of that, as the area is bisected by the green and the blue, is the area that will be the 16-unit hybrid lofts. And then beyond that will be additional cottages. And then on the interior of the line that is in the green is where there will be another building like the buildings that exist today. Over in the orange section, that's the agritourism area. Again, the farm to fork concept with a working farm and crop. And so as it all comes together, it will finally be one cohesive and continuous development pattern and not a patchwork of uses out at the property. Next slide is the, again, these are the large houses. These are those 5 units buildings that you've seen before. However, these have evolved again into the next iteration of those plans that we're assembling for DRB. And here's the rendering for what those are shaping up to look like. And you see a lot of access to open space and patios and shade with a Spanish colonial architecture, but that is also modern in appearance. And the next slide are the duplexes that you saw before. That is just one rendering that we had sketched out last year, and that has evolved now into the next slide, which is a combination of contemporary and traditional style architecture, and those are being branded as the casitas. And then there are the hybrid lofts. Again, that was at that northern part of the green space that was bisected by the blue. And the latest iteration of those renderings is on the next slide. And again, very prominently featured porches and balconies so that there's a lot of outdoor living in these units. And there are 16 units in each of these buildings. And next. And then finally, again, the agritourism visual intent graphic shows you the vibe and the agrarian nature of what the development there is going to be programmed to be. So with that, we're happy to answer questions. As staff mentioned, we are working through the terms of a development agreement that will go along with this to council and spell out the triggers for the infrastructure requirements. And we are so anxious and happy to be here tonight at a point where we're having the official public hearing and getting your feedback and hopefully moving forward with a favorable recommendation to council. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Do any of the members of the commission have any questions? None?
I have a quick question. I don't know if you can hear me. Can you guys hear me? Okay. In the hybrid lofts, is it my understanding that there's going to be 15 of those, and in each building there's 16 units? Is that correct? Like 16 doors, basically.
Yes, Chairman and Commissioners, the hybrid lofts were shown, and Lisa, if you could, or Jason, I don't know which is easier, to go back to the conceptual development plan graphic on the screen. There are 2 buildings for those, so at 16 units each. And I've got Paul Vanderveen also available to answer any specific questions about the programming of those units, but there we go. So you see on the north, there's the first block of units, which is entirely green, and that is where there's a combination of the 5-unit large houses and the duplexes. And the 2 buildings illustrated just north of that, where it really kind of bisects it at a diagonal, there are 2 of those hybrid loft buildings for a total of 32 on those combined sections.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Thank you.
If there are none of the commissioners have any other questions, it's time now to ask for public comments. Are there members of the public present who wish to comment on this?
Chairman Ross?
Yes.
Hi, thank you. I'm sorry, I couldn't unmute fast enough. My concern is just, as Jason did address them, just that they will become clear, and along with the fire department and others that will consider this, are just the means of ingress and egress to the development, because it is very close to the traffic light at Litchfield and Camelback. So I know they'll be giving good consideration to that. So ingress, egress, traffic lights, and I hope that we can recommend the city council that the sidewalk be continued from Litchfield down to the next development, so that there's finally a safe place to walk along that development on Camelback Road and not have to compete with the cars that are going 50 miles an hour there. So just to make it safer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Are there members of the public who wish to comment?
Should be done about raising.
Are there none?
Let me just mention, if there is anyone from the public that's attending by video, you will need to click the raise your hand button in order for us to see you and recognize that you'd like to speak. If you are participating by phone, we'd like you to hit *6, and that will be the same as the raising your hand, and we will be able to recognize you that way, and then *9 to unmute.
Hey, Pam, just so you know, I've got the chat screen. If you were able to expand the window that you're looking at, you can see that Miss Betty Lynch has commented and just expressed her support for the project as a resident of Litchfield Park and La Loma. And then James and Colleen Jensen had noted that they'd asked how they get on the screen. I believe to be on the screen, they have to be admitted. I'm not certain how else they participate, but if they'd like a comment, maybe we can take it from the chat window, or we can enable their audio.
Okay, just. Can you admit?
Or we can perhaps ask them to comment through the chat window. I think as long as we get them on the public record as to if they have comments or questions.
This is James
I
and
believe-
Colleen Jensen. Can you
Oh,
hear
there they
me?
are.
We go.
We can hear you.
Okay,
Hello.
All right, we,
Yes, we can hear you.
we're kind of new to this, so we just wanted to watch and see what's going on. And I know it's real preliminary, but do you have any idea what kind of, I guess, rates you would have for those price ranges or whatever for those?
I think this question would be directed to Mr. Vanderveen. I'm not certain that they disclosed that, but it's not related to the zoning case, but
If
it's a
you'd
good
like,
question.
I'd like to make a sale right now in the meeting. If that's all right with all of you. James and Colleen, that's a question that, what I'd like you to do for ease of sake, I'm just going to give you my cell phone number. And if you can call me tomorrow, I'll put you in touch with the right people. And that's, if you have a pen handy, or I can put it in the chat box if that'll help.
1 second here. We got a pen here.
Yeah, I'll just put it in the chat box. Can you, do you have a pen
Go
ready?
ahead.
All right,
Go ahead. We got,
623-293-0695.
okay, got it. And it's Paul.
Tomorrow, that's Paul. Yep.
All
Sorry,
right, thanks.
but I thank you for granting us that opportunity. That was very kind of for Frank. Mr. Ross, I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else from the public have any comments?
no one is raising their hand or pressing to comment by phone.
Okay, then let's go on to item. Yes? Let's go on to item B, which is,
If I may, Chairman Ross, just because I could read it into the record if you can't see the chat box, looks like Mr. Hal Miller supports the case for Sun Health,
okay,
member of the public.
very well. Now we're moving on to the item B, the request to amend the city Litchfield Park general plan. It's on for information and action. Do we need any more information on that subject?
Is it,
If
is that,
not,
is that for
Go ahead.
staff, Commissioner? Is that for staff, Chairman Ross, or were you asking the commission? I apologize.
I'm asking the commission.
Okay.
If we don't need any more information, it's on the agenda for action. Does anyone like to make a motion?
I move that we approve the request in B, request to amend the City of Litchfield General Plan to accommodate Sun Health request.
It's been moved that we approve the request. Is there a second? I will second it.
I'm sorry, Chairman Rossi, did you second the motion?
I did, yes.
Thank you.
Moved and seconded that we approve the request to amend the general plan. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Bye.
How many do we have?
Shall we do a roll call? Would that work?
Yeah, maybe be better.
Okay. Commissioner Ledyard, your vote?
Aye. Aye.
Commissioner Lawrence?
Aye.
Commissioner Alvey?
Aye.
Commissioner O'Connor,
Aye.
and Chairman Ross.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Unanimous.
Next, we'll move on to item C, which is a request to amend the zoning code. We've had a presentation on that. Does anyone desire any further information on this issue? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the amendment for the zoning code, zoning for the approximate 322 acres.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll
Second.
second.
Moved and seconded that we approve the request to amend the zoning code. All in favor, aye.
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 I don't think we need a roll call there.
Maybe we should just ask just in case any opposed. Okay,
Maybe.
thank you.
The next is the request to approve a conceptual development plan for 82 acres. Once again, we've had information. Does anyone require or request any further information? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move, this is Dave Ledyard. I move we approve the conceptual development plan for the 82 acres of land on the Sun Health campus proposed to be rezoned to public facilities with a PD overlay.
And do we have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded that we approve the request to approve the conceptual development plan. All in favor, aye.
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 The ayes have it. Thank you all. Next item is topics for referral to the city council. Does anyone want to talk to the city council about anything? There being none, we'll move on to item F, the minutes. Approval of the minutes of October 22, January 14, February 11, and May 12. May I have a motion?
I move we approve the minutes.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I take the motion. Any opposed? Okay, this motion carried. Next is staff report on current events. Jason.
Thank you, Chair. Commissioners, I'll keep it brief, just a few items. Obviously, tonight was a big item for the city. Been in play for a long time. Some other smaller developments, the Dysart and Camelback corner, we're seeing some additional activity occurring there. The Denny's restaurant was able to iron out their parking issues by sharing parking with the self-storage next door so that they can fit all the required parking on site. So we anticipate them moving forward as well. We anticipate the car wash that's just north of that to continue to move forward with their site plan and construction drawings. They did some small revisions. And we recently did a pre-application meeting for the last remaining corner that would occur next to, or one of the last remaining corners that would occur on the east side of the Dignity Health west of AutoZone as potential strip retail with an end cap drive-through user. City Center, we took an item, the Brew Pub will be moving into its new location in the near future. Design Review Board approved some minor changes to the building it's moving into. That's just west of, I think, Councilman Mahoney's property. And we anticipate the rest of that project to come forward. There's a proposal for a new building. That new building looks a lot like the historic buildings along Old Litchfield Road. So that's exciting. That would build out across and complete that block. That would be directly across the street from where we saw the proposed, perhaps Roadmaster facility if it were to develop. Other items, I think that mostly covers it. Pam, I'm not certain, I mean, if we have anything else besides the the zoning code coming back next month. I think we're going to talk about
Right.
whether we
And
keep the dates or if we skip until October.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if we should, can we do that through the staff report on current events, or how would we perhaps take a roll call on who's available for the first or the second Tuesday in September versus going to October directly?
I'm not sure.
And I think that the regular date would be the day after Labor Day, I believe. So I can send out an email asking
Okay.
what the choice would be.
I would request that, yes.
Great. That's it from staff.
Okay.
Unless, Woody, do you have anything that you want to add? We have the luxury of having Woody on the line tonight. So do you have anything you want to add in, Woody? You're welcome to on staff report of current events.
No, I don't have anything to add.
Okay. Cool.
Okay, the next item is commissioners' reports on current events. Any of the commissioners have any reports they want to make? There being none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move we adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded that we adjourn. All in favor, aye.
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 Aye. Thank you all. We are adjourned.
Thank you.